Degrees, and let's head over to Milestone Senior Living in Faribault and Gordy Kosfeld for today's AM Minnesota.
Yes, appropriately named Milestone. We're Milestone Senior Living, and we have with us Melissa Tritton. She is what is your title, Melissa?
I'm the community director here.
Aha. And we, of course, have Jean and Adrian Gillen, who are the co-grand marshals of the Memorial Day Parade. How cool is that?
That's amazing.
And I noticed, before we get to what you have to offer here at Milestone, I noticed you're going to have a special Memorial Day observance this weekend.
Yes, we are.
Tell us about that, if you would, please.
We are having a Memorial Day observance to honor all of our veterans that live here at Milestone.
That's probably virtually everyone that lives here.
There's quite a few that we have that are veterans here.
Are you full?
We are not full at the present time. We offer assisted living and specialize in memory care as well.
And there's a shortage of memory care beds. I know that.
Yes, there is.
So are you full in the memory care area?
We are not. So we are currently taking applications for that as well.
Okay. You have to qualify.
You have to qualify. You have to have specialized kinds of care. So you have to have some type of memory loss or dementia to be eligible to live in the memory unit.
And even before you go into a senior assisted living, if I remember right, you go under an analysis.
That is correct. We have a nurse that does a nursing assessment just to determine the level of care that is provided. And then we can provide that care unless it's a skilled nursing type of care, where then we need to look at something different.
Then I'm assuming that you have a good relationship with the other nursing homes in town?
Absolutely. Yes.
In case you need to transfer to another facility.
Yes.
How many beds do you have here?
We have 52 beds, apartments, and 22 are memory care.
Some are two-bedroom,
We have 2 bedrooms, and we also have suites as well.
So you might want to check it out, folks. How do people go about doing that?
You can talk to myself. I'm Melissa Tritton. I'm the community director, and you can call me at 507-323-0199.
Again, that's the number again?
The cell phone number is 507-323-0199.
That the phone's ringing already.
Awesome.
This is a very nice, very nice.
It's beautiful up here.
Got a love coming up here every day to work, Melissa.
It's beautiful up here. The country that faces the country, and we have lots of wildlife up here, deer, animals that come up. The residents love to look out the window and look at the animal and wildlife.
Are there different food plans here? For example, can I just eat in my apartment and not pay for the dietary aspect, or is that required?
You can do that. We like people to eat our delicious meals. We have a wonderful cook, and she serves 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're wonderful. It's also a good socialization to be able to get out of your room and to visit other residents. I know our residents here love just to hear what's going on with the other residents, and they watch over the residents here too, so it's like a big family here.
There are options. We already talked about the 1 and 2 bedroom, and I'm sure you got a big sheet of paper of bathing, showers.
That's included in the nursing assessment. So we do a nursing assessment to determine what kinds of level of care that you need, and then we assess you at that level to see which level is best for you.
So they can help you with assistance, remembering your pills and that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yes. We have a full-time nurse that's here as well in our end.
Fantastic. How long you worked here?
I've been here 2 years.
Did you work at a place before this?
I did. I've worked in other assisted living before, and also I'm a licensed social worker as well.
You like it?
I do. I love it. It's my passion. I've been doing it. I was a nursing assistant when I was 18, so I've been doing this all my life pretty much.
But the elder care is your specialty.
Absolutely, yeah.
And why do you think you get along so well with them?
I love to hear their stories, and you're going to hear that in a few minutes. The stories and the places where people have been and how they can help us in the world. The older people have a plethora of information that is just so valuable.
I think that's one of the reasons, this is my own editorial comment here, but I think that's one of the reasons why we're struggling right now as a nation, is we don't listen to our elders.
Yeah, the stories are amazing. And Jeannie is amazing, her stories, and so I'm excited to hear about them.
Yeah, and they brought picture books.
They certainly did.
Obviously, I can't show those on the radio. I might take a couple pictures and throw them on our website if they don't mind, of when they were younger and that sort of thing. But these are awesome picture books that their kids did for them.
Yeah.
What a great gift that is. Melissa, Again, give out that phone number one more time.
Absolutely, 507-331-2748. And you're always welcome to come up for a tour and visit us.
Well, we have got a terrific show lined up for you today as the co-chairs of the Memorial Day Parade, which is coming up, of course, on Monday. Gene and Adrian Gillen are with us. They are a married couple. We're going to get the story about how all that started. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to Gene. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, Gertie.
And thanks for having us up here.
Well, you're very welcome.
I appreciate your being on the program. So tell me, first of all, before we get to how you lured this guy into your
that was a long time ago.
into your world. Before we get to that, tell me about your military service, because that happened before your marriage, right?
Oh, yes. I graduated from high school when I was 17, and I was too young to do anything. So they hired me in the grocery store, and they had a telephone company, and they asked me if I would come and learn how to operate the switchboard. So I did that.
And it came in handy in their military service.
I did that. And I came, then I still wasn't old enough to go into the service, but I heard about it, and I thought, that sounds very interesting. And I always am in for interesting things. And anyway, I started with after I got done at E.F. Johnson and Company, then I was old enough, so I enlisted in the military. And I went into the Navy, and I was 20 years old, and you had to be 21 at that time to get into the service.
So your parents had to give you permission.
And so I thought, I got my mom and dad to sign for me. And everybody in Morristown thought they were crazy to let me go into something like that. But at that time, I always was pretty independent, and I guess I thank my mom and dad for that, because they taught me to be independent. And besides that, I could always help them. And I was next to the youngest of 8. And so I went into the service.
This was during World War II.
That was during World War II. And they said I had to go to New York because the people that enlisted had to be trained, and that was at the Navy base at that time at Hunter College, New York.
Now think about this. You were from Morristown.
I was from Morristown,
which is much smaller than it is today.
Well, that is
up in New York City.
That is true, but it was fun. I always was ready for things that were fun.
Yeah, I see you have a picture in your book here at Jack Dempsey Cafe.
You what?
You have a picture in here when you were at Jack Dempsey Cafe in
oh, yes, in New York. We did a lot of stuff.
So why the Navy, Gene?
Well, because the enlistments were open at that time, and so then I went into the Navy. And I enjoyed every minute of it. Nancy Schluda, if you knew her, Gordon.
Oh, yeah, I knew her.
Yes. She went in, too, and she was stationed at Hunter College, too. And she and I became good friends, and she directed the marching. And one time, the whole 20 were marching, and all of a sudden, Nancy called, "Eyes right." And all of us turned to the right. And there were 3 sailors walking on the street. And so, anyway, Nancy was, of course, disciplined for doing that. And there was an old Lieutenant Motzinger, and she thought that was a terrible thing to do. And so she put that whole 20 of us on report. And we spent a week emptying spittoons and doing all the dirty chores.
Emptying spittoons.
Yes.
Oh boy. I think I'd rather peel potatoes.
Yes. And so, anyway, I got through that week, and I guess it was interesting too.
Then your basic training's on the other coast, right?
Everything. What?
You went from New York to California.
Oh, yes. I started out from there, and when I got to California, I went to Terminal Island, which was a receiving station outside of San Pedro. And when I got there, I was amazed. They didn't have barracks for us, so they took over an old Coast Guard station and put us there for bunking. And we had to go on a truck from that point on that island to the base. And there were only 3 barracks that were used for the offices for the receiving stations. And anyway, that was quite a thing. I said, when we went, we had to go past the Company E, which was the disciplinary barracks for the men. And so we had to go past that. And so they really guarded us on that little barracks where we were, so that nothing would happen to any of us. And when we got through there, by then we got to the receiving station, and I wrote to my mother, God love her, and I said, there is nothing here but dirt, sailors, and cement mixers. And so that was what my mother read. And I'm sure that those small mines that were in Morristown at that time, thought, oh my goodness, what is that girl doing?
And you ended up being a switchboard operator, right?
I did. They trained me, and I operated the switchboard. And at that time, they were just unpacking that switchboard out of the sawdust and getting it ready. And the one that I had operated in Morristown had little flaps that fell down, no light. Sure. And so that with the lights was very different. But that's where I operated. And I enjoyed my time. And there was one thing that I enjoyed about that. You know, I was on, sometimes the shift was from midnight to 8. And, you know, there was not much activity. And the sailors walked through the hall on their watch. And I had a coffee locker in my switchboard room. And so, of course, they stopped in for coffee. And, you know, I heard so many stories. And those men that were there, I'm sure, never repeated those stories when they got out of service. You know, they shut that out of their memory. But, you know, I guess I had an attentive ear because they all unloaded their stories from the South Pacific. And so that was an enlightening experience.
Yeah. Adrian, let's talk a little bit about your military service.
Oh, well, she's a good talker.
She is a good talk. So tell us, when did you enlist, or did you?
Well, no, I was drafted into the Army in 1954. In May, I went to the mailbox, got my mail, and I've been farming on one already since I was 16. Then here, where that little card was in there, it said 1A. So I went to the draft board, and I said, what's going on? I said, I've been 2C, that was here. You know, what they were listed at for 7 or 8 years. She said, if we don't get you, you'll be too old. So in September that year, I was in the Army, and that was from May till September that I had to wind up what I was doing at that time. So,
and you told me before you went in, you had to take your cattle to your sister.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. Yeah, of course, I have
crop planted.
2 brothers and I kind of farmed together. So they said they'd take care of my crop in the fall, or, you know, for the summer and in the fall and harvest it. And it's a lot different then, you know, than it is now. You could, at that time, we picked the corn, you know, and cribbed the corn and everything. And nowadays, well, you go out with the combine and dump in the truck and haul it to the elevator or something. But anyhow, with that, of course, then that was taken care of. Then I had a herd of cattle, too. I had about 25 milk cows. And I said, you know, and these old cattle jockeys, they were around trying to buy everything because, you know, they knew in September I wasn't going to be around there anymore. So anyhow, my sister out in west of Wilmer, she said, if you want to haul your milk cows out here, we'll take care of them until you come back. Well, you know, that's quite an undertaking. I know and they did milk cows out there, which a lot of farmers out there, they were just crop farmers. Sure. So anyhow, with that, I thought, well, you know, there's nothing to lose. So my 2 brothers and I, they each had a truck, and I had one. We loaded 19, the best ones up, hauled them out there, and then I said, you can have them. And when I come back, I'd like to get 19 back. And I said, if I don't come back, you can have them, because then we don't need to fight over them anyhow. So and when I come back, well, it was in the middle of the summer, and I said, I don't have any feed, so you might as well keep them for another year, and I'll have some feed raised. Then I got them back home, and I started milking cows again.
Now, you didn't know what you were going to do when you got in the service, right?
No, we went to Leonard Wood. That's where we took our basic training, 8 weeks of basic, and then the second 8 weeks was heavy equipment operation, which I qualified for that. So I took that next 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden, when I graduated from there, they put me on a plane in Springfield, Missouri, flew me to New York, got on the boat there, and 13 days later, I was in Germany. So I spent 17 months over in Germany. People said, what'd you do over there? I said, we were rebuilding everything they shot to hell 20, 15 years sooner, you know. And that's just what we done.
Now, I should clarify something here. Adrian is in the mid-50s. World War II's over.
Yeah. Well, the Korean War was just ended at that time.
Yep.
And, well, some of the guys that I was with, they were sent to Korea. But I was lucky I was sent to Germany. So, you know, that's kind of the way I spent my time.
So they're rebuilding roads.
Yep. That's what we were doing over there. We worked in a rock crusher. And we had to crush our rock, you know, for the roads and everything. So
So there's no concern about being shot at or anything?
No. But we always had to carry a rifle. We always had a carbine on the cat when we were working, because, you never know when something was going to happen. So we always had a weapon with us all the time.
So how do you meet Jean?
Well, her brother-in-law and I bowled together. And then one day, he said, I got a sister-in-law that, maybe you ought to get to know her. So, well, that's how we got together then. And of course, that was and then I was in the service. And then, of course, we wrote back and forth, and I asked her on one letter if I might think about getting married.
Now, wait a minute. You asked her in a letter to marry you?
Well, I was thousands of miles away. She remembers the day.
She does. She just put out the day right now.
So anyhow, she said, well, she accepted. I come home then in the middle of the summer. 2 months later, we got married, and we were going to marry in September, but my mom said, you better make it in August so we can use the facilities at the school for our reception and everything. So we got married the 29th of August. And
so you're dating her before you go in the military?
Yeah, just a few times, yeah.
A few times?
Well, yeah, you got to play the field when you're young.
I'm not going to go there.
Well, no, but of course somebody said to me, why didn't you get married sooner? I said I couldn't find anybody I wasn't related to, because the Gillans.
You are related to a lot of people. Gene, you said something earlier when we were visiting that I thought was awesome. I don't know if you remember what you said. You said you can tell a lot about a person from his war letters?
Yes. And Adrian, well, I got to know things about him that he probably never would have said to anybody.
Or in person?
Yes.
As in writing, you know what I'm saying?
So he did that. And he's a good one and has been for all these years.
So I'm sure he thinks the same thing. Absolutely. You guys had 6 kids together, Adrian.
Yeah, we had started in 1956. We got married, and in 1958 our first boy was born. And then in those 10 years we had 6 kids, and we had 2 boys and 4 girls. Of course, she was 33 when we got married. She was 35 when we had our first child. So, she said when we got married, she said, I've been all over the world. I'm going to stick the suitcase under the bed and have some kids. so that's what we did. I had a job ahead of me. So for that, we weathered the storm, I guess you call it, because there were some stormy days there too when we were young.
Oh, of course. So it is for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's what puts you
keeps you together.
Fire, keeps you together, makes you a tougher couple.
That's right. So,
So I got to ask Gene.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be the Grand Marshal of the Memorial Day Parade?
Well, pretty awesome. It's an honor. I'm grateful. And I'm glad I lived to 91 to do this.
Yeah, it probably should happen a little sooner. But
my voice is pretty good. My legs don't function as well as they should. And the rest of me probably has failed too, but I am 91 and my mind is still working.
Yeah, well, you remember a lot of things in detail. I mean, she spent out the date that she got the letter, and I won't get too personal about the letter, but forget Adrian's here. It's just you and me, okay? Was it romantic?
Yes.
I mean, did he talk about your eyes and your hair and how much?
Oh, no. He never did that. I guess he just accepted them the way they are.
Well, she was a fetching young lassie. I'll tell you, we got a book here that shows that. And you're still a fetching young lassie, don't get me wrong.
Well, thank you very much,
not a problem.
Gordy.
I usually don't make passes at people's wives. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. I can handle it.
But she was a very nice-looking young lady. You were a handsome young man.
Well, yeah, of course, I was a ninth one of 10 kids, so they passed some of the good looks off to me too as time went on.
So how do you feel about being Grand Marshal?
Well, I think this is quite an honor too. I'm, here a couple of years ago. Of course, I've been working in the cemeteries all my life, and when they had the honor guard was out to St. Lawrence for a commitment, why one of the guys there asked me at that time, and I said, "Well, gosh, I don't know." I said, "Well, now they ask us again." I said, "Well, I think she's in better shape now than she was a couple of years ago." So I said, "Well, I'll have to talk to her," which I did, and she thought, "Well, we'll give it a whirl." So that's how come we're going to be honored now in Monday morning. So
6 children, 8 granddaughters,
yeah,
3 stepchildren,
yeah,
a great-grandson, and a great-granddaughter.
yeah,
That's a terrific life.
that makes up our nucleus.
It's a great legacy you folks have left.
So, of course, I have brothers and sisters that had a lot of kids too. So, there was, well, in fact, this is my oldest son. His name is Sebastian. That my folks had 60-some grandchildren already, and never had anybody by my dad's name. So, Jeannie said we got to name him after my dad. So that's what we done. And of course, then we had Christopher and Lisa and Carla and Brenda and Sandy, 4 girls. So,
And he named them all in order. Melissa, thanks again for having us here
Thank
today.
you. It's been wonderful.
And I know what you mean about the story.
Yeah. That's why I come back every day.
The show just isn't long enough, because I'll bet there's a story for why Christopher was named Christopher and Lisa was named Lisa and Carla was named Carla. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day, too.
Yeah, well, make sure you give out that phone number again if anybody's
Absolutely.
interested. You have openings here.
We do currently have openings at Milestone, and the phone number is 507-331-2748, and you can ask for Melissa, and we can come up and have a tour or have a lunch on us.
And before I go, Gene, you like it here at Milestone, right?
It's a very nice place. If I was well enough, I'd be home, but Adrian is in the cemetery quite a bit of his time.
Yeah.
And so I guess he's dealing with the dead, and I'm still living, so
Here at Milestone.
I